From Humba to archiving of the impeachment complaint against the Vice President, the latest decision by the Philippine Supreme Court, the future of the Pink Movement. Marami tayong pag-usapan because at the very least, the soul of Philippine democracy is at stake and many people are watching for potentials and possibilities for the return of the Dutertes, for a new kind of leadership in the Philippines, or a new kind of democracy altogether. Para pag-usapan lahat ng mga issue na yan, we have a very special guest. Thank you very much, Attorney Falsis, for joining us. Before we talk about the latest Humba incident, the DDS civil wars, serious issues like ICC, Supreme Court, and Senate, who are you wearing? Are you allowed to advertise here?
Our good friend, of course, I'm wearing Kandama. It's IP-led or it's promoting indigenous rights. Victor Bagilat from the Cordilleras.
Of course, so these are people close to my heart, Obi says, as a Baguio boy. So,
ganda ng design, di ba?
Kaya nga, like, immediately when you came in kanina, like, wow.
Tsaka hindi uso ang black na barong.
And black and red. Huh?
Black and red.
Yeah, it's an interesting, very edgy. Alam natin, nag-New York, ano rin siya, Fashion Week ba siya or something?
Nagpa-fashion show siya all around the world.
Yeah, so shout out dyan. Of course, it's a small world. We had Attorney Dina De Leon here, his former teammate in debating.
Oh, yeah.
You also come from the debating world, so just for transparency.
But he didn't wear Kandama. I did.
Yes, that's what we're gonna. I'm gonna wear that too. I mean, kung meron siyang libre bigay sa akin kasi Ilocano. But well, you know, not long ago, I remember a certain senator. I was just going out of the Senate during their very interesting debate, and he was giving lecture about, you know, ito yung trabaho ng political analyst, ito yung trabaho ng advocate, political advocate. So feeling ko ako yung tinatamaan kasi someone else tweeted that na close to. But I think people forget that there's another category, public educators or public thinkers, or to be a little bit, you know, posh about
public
it. Intellectuals, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of classic term. And the thing with public intellectuals is that you look at issues as they are, but also you look at where the world can go in a better direction, right? So there's both a normative dimension and empirical dimension.
And descriptive.
And descriptive.
Ano lang sila? They describe reality, pero merong normative who want to see the better reality.
Exactly. So it's a combination of both analysis and advocacy to a certain degree, based on what you believe is the interest of the state. The reason I raise that is because you are a public interest lawyer, right? So in a way, it's a legal way of being a public intellectual, right?
Oh, definitely. Because most lawyers, di ba, are legalist. Legalistic ang perception sa amin. Kasi parang we usually just defend the law. And no offense to most lawyers really just defend the law, which is status quo. Ako, I didn't become a lawyer, I didn't study the law just to defend the law as it is. So I'm more here to analyze why the law is that way and how do I change that. So kasi sa Philippines, we are very legal-centric. So yung access to corridors of power is usually using the power of the law. You have experienced the weaponization of the law. The law is so powerful because it can be weaponized by the powerful. So for me, it's a way to access the influence of power and go back to law in terms of changing it for the better as a tool of power by the oppressed, by the marginalized. Because I represent the LGBT community, I'm part of that community. But among other things, hindi lang LGBT. We have the working class, we have the PWD, the senior. How do we change and reshape the law to be more normative in a way that suits the interests of the majority rather than the powerful, billionaire, rich minority?
Well, that's very important because, you know, a certain Uruguayan president once said, you know, the law or the constitutional order is a frozen balance of power. Right, it reflects exactly
beautiful.
Like it's very well put, right? And of course, this is a person who was a former guerrilla, trained in law, so he understands the nexus of power in politics and all. And that's why, as I said, you are in a special category because you really took up law in order to be able to have an informed public intervention, and you're very active on a whole range of issues. So much so that pati mga Humba scandal, whatever, Humba Gate, ang term ni Lord De Vera.
Humba Bruhaha.
Humba Bruhaha. Well, it seems to be more than a brouhaha, isn't it? I mean, it seems to be more reflective of certain...
Humba schism.
Schism, yeah, fault lines.
Because there's a DDS
yeah, we're not saying it's a cult.
Schism.
We're not saying it's a cult,
yes.
But it looks like there's something more to the Humba story, right?
Yes. Ideologically, ang schism naman can be because may fractured ideological lines or identity, tribal identity.
Or succession crisis.
Yes. In political science, these are just political science terms. We are not denigrating anyone. It's just a fact that there are political identities that people associate with. Like ako, people might think I'm kakamping. To an extent, I identify as such, but to also an extent, I want to reject that because I think I'm more than a kakamping. But for the Humba, Humba schism, meron talagang political identities dyan. And aminado naman sila mismo nagsabi niya, di ba, nagpa-interview pa si Alvin on one schism and Harry Roque, the other schism, other faction. So sabi nila, pareho silang DDS, pero may factions sa DDS. So on the one side, you have Alvin, and on the other side, you have Harry Roque. Pero parang wala pang nakapagsabi nito, may nag-bablog na din. They tried to assess ano ba yung difference, pareho naman daw DDS. Ang alam ko kasi na difference nila, si Harry Roque and Maharlika, mga pro-Duterte, the way they want to attack the current administration is medyo very crass. Meron silang pinauso na sayaw yung budot, bangag. Yun yung approach nila na reject nitong isang side ng DDS. Kasi sabi nila, we don't have to attack the Marcoses that way. We have to attack them objectively, factually, based on the issues. Hindi yung parang ganong mababaw. Nabababawan yung isang
So
side.
you're Team Alvin? Am I understanding?
I'm not Team Alvin.
I'm kidding.
I'm describing.
It looks very factual, objective.
It's a descriptive reality, di ba? So you have Alvin, who has 700,000 plus followers,
But I think these people started as lifestyle.
TikTok, Facebook.
Yeah, and then they transitioned
Tourism.
to politics. Yeah, tourism.
Yes, and Bisaya kasi siya. So, madaming mga nagpa-follow sa kanya. Bisdak. In-explain niya yung tourism, yung food. Nakaka-relate sila kasi Bisaya. So, ang dami niyang followers, and which happens to overlap with a lot of Duterte supporters. So, nung naging pro-Duterte siya, lalo na nung na-arrest si PRRD, doon siya parang medyo talagang nag-activate to be more political.
I didn't even know these people existed. Like, biglang tinatag
Yeah, ngayon lang siya sumikat, di ba? So, si Alvin on one side, and yung mga nexus niya, and then you have Harry Roque and Maharlika na. Medyo mas wala talagang let's attack everything.
But there's
and
also
anything.
kind of a Zimmerman, Honeylet also dynamics there, right?
Ayun na yung mga overlord.
Yeah.
Oo,
So
kasi
parang proxy war ang tingin dito.
proxy war kasi syempre 'di ba? This is also descriptive without denigrating anyone. We know in Philippine culture, family and inheritance issues, succession issues, who handles the money is very controversial and related tightly to who's the legal wife and or mga kabit. So it's VP Sara.
Common law wife.
Common law wife.
Yeah.
It's VP Sara who said all of these other girls are just girlfriends. But of course, for Honeylet, ang perception niya, she's a common law wife because divorced na si PRRD, legally divorced na siya from Zimmerman. So, for Honeylet, there's no legal impediment. And totoo naman in fairness, legally, there's no legal impediment for PRRD and Honeylet to marry. But they are not married. So, that's called common law spouse. But of course, ang argument naman ni Sara Duterte, ang dami naman niyang kinokohabit or ang dami naman niyang kino-common law. So, lahat kayo, girlfriends, walang common law. To be common law kasi, sa family code, meron niyang limited exception to be recognized.
Right. So what is the threshold for you to go
If
from
you've been together
girlfriend to common law?
for 5 years, at least, and you
5
have
years?
cohabited,
You've cohabited. Oh, wow.
you can marry na without the benefit of applying for a certain requirement. Parang ganun. So may limited recognition na there's such a thing as a common law spouse. Pero, yun nga yung concern, Honeylet, of course, will defend na I'm the common law spouse. But of course, the other quote-unquote girlfriends will say, no, hindi ka naman exclusive. Hindi naman kayo cohabitation pero syempre, sa perception ni Zimmerman, ni Honeylet, cohabitation.
Well, thank you for the family law and relevant code update. This is what I like about our kind of conversations here. I always say, you miss the point if you look at the Duterte support base as a monolithic movement. It was never a monolithic movement. And in a piece 5-6 years ago, I identified at least 5 different types of Duterte supporters. Kasama dyan, technocrats who just wanted to join. Like you had a lot of people ending up in top technocratic positions because their idea is that this guy doesn't know about economics, he's open about it, so we're here to help him. So you can talk about Jokno, Chua, those kind of figures. And then there are also like really open opportunists, right? Who saw an opening. I think we mentioned some of them, but who are just there like, this is my time to shine, right? This is my road to, not perdition, but my road to paradise, right?
Yes.
At ito lang siguro tatanggap sa akin at this level of cabinet position. I don't think any other administration will
Accept
mind.
me.
Accept me. So it's not just that. And then of course you have other people who have known Duterte from the very beginning, childhood friends, sila Secretary Dominguez, mga ganun, ibang dynamic
The
yan.
loyalists.
Yes, and then and then even that has multiple levels, diba? And then there are other people who are just trying to survive,
Yes.
right? Like, my goodness, if I'm not gonna side with this guy and I'm a congressman, I had one of them as my guest here. She said open, like, if nag-abstain ka pa, I think you're familiar with the person, advocate din.
She will be targeted.
She will be targeted, right? It's like, you have to go with the flow because she was called out for basically, going along with the budgets and the legislative priorities of the Duterte administration when Duterte's proxies were in positions of power. The idea is that even abstention was not an option. So you have also people that were just trying to survive, right?
So that's the fourth.
That's fourth. And then the fifth level, I would say, ito yung parang Mokauson, and all of these people coming together. And all of them are really dedicated to Rodrigo Duterte, the person. This is the cult of personality that goes well beyond people who knew him from Davao days, right? Even Vice Ganda, you could argue at some point was almost falling into that category, at least. So you can easily look at 5 very different types of people who came together during this time. Yeah, exactly. So I always felt it misses the point if you look at just, and they say it takes a village to...
Monolithic.
Yeah, exactly, monolithic. So, kumbaga itong schism na to for me is just scratching the surface. But obviously, this is also a reflection of another situation, which is, Harry Roque was positioning himself as the ICC lawyer. Exactly. I'm the man, right? And the idea was, okay, I also know another good guy, Kaufman, who seems to be the only guy willing to take some of these interesting cases, and the ICC, and it seems to be seasoned guy. He's died in the in the woods when it comes to these issues. But now, bakit mga to ayaw rin sa kanya ata? Or if I were to believe, I think some of these people, even Digong doesn't want Harry around anymore. It takes a certain leap of, I won't say imagination anymore, leap of defying, incredulity to see. I mean, why is Harry Roque being rejected by practically every faction? Like, he doesn't have many natural allies, does he?
Because I think his expertise, being a lawyer, an international lawyer, yun yung packaging niya, still has a lot of baggages. So, hindi siya pwedeng ma-accept fully. For example, yung gusto niyang role sa ICC, but he's applying for asylum eh. So, he can't really roam freely and do everything that a lawyer is supposed to do for a client. Like Rodrigo Duterte, who is already a controversial client, more controversial than Harry Roque. So, with that baggage, how can he be accepted to the role that he is pitching? Pinipitch niya yung sarili niya na, ako yung lawyer niyo.
Kasama ba sa baggage yung things he said about Digong as a murderer and all? Remember all these videos of Harry Roque? Wag niyo botohin yung taong to. And, like, that's the thing. Like, it's out there. Like, what these people...
I think that's why he became a spokesperson, no? Ang maganda sa Duterte, ha, and I'm just being very objective, this is descriptive. They are politically savvy. You have to give it to them.
Co-optive power.
Yes, si Rodrigo Duterte, more than Sara, is really politically savvy. Nakita niya may maingay na tao dito, na, can be also maingay against me in relation with Oplan Tokhang, in relation with crimes against humanity. Ang dami na niyang sinasabi, let's co-opt this guy. Yeah. Kasi nakita niya opportunist din. Yung opportunist naman, and even if Harry Roque disagrees, that's the common perception about him. Nag-change siya ng principles from a human rights advocate, inaccept niya yung trabaho under a suspected war crime or criminal na crimes against humanity committer si Rodrigo. Nag-ano pa yan and just to point out how ludicrous this is, kasi nag-privilege speech pa yan si Harry Roque nun. Congressman siya ng Kabayan.
Yeah, Kabayan party list.
Yung party list niya.
Which nagkaroon ng schism din.
Nagkaroon ng schism, na-kick out din siya. Pero before he was kicked out, nag-speech siya about crimes against humanity, about ICC jurisdiction, etc. na slightly negatively slanted against Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Tapos, naiba na yun when he accepted the post of spokesperson. And from there on, lagi na niyang dinideny yung jurisdiction ng ICC, lagi na niyang dinideny na may crimes against humanity. So he became an apologist. Yeah. But in relation with the ICC case right now, malayo na yun eh. Ang pinaka, I think, proximate reason why he was not really accepted into the fold is because may asylum case siya, tapos paano kung ma-reject yun? Tapos paano kung ma-implement ng Philippines yung Interpol request because may legitimate warrant of arrest
Yung
sa kanya.
pugante, yes.
Paano na magiging lawyer sa ICC yun?
Or kung tawagin siya ng prosecution to testify against Digong based on what he said. I mean, you could see how this could go wrong
His
on
roles.
so many levels,
Yeah.
right? And yet, he perseveres. Harry Roque perseveres. Kaya sabi ko, he's like a character in a novel. If I were to complete the trilogy of Rizal, right, he would be one of those interesting
Because
characters.
he's always clinging on to relevance eh. And I haven't been a student. Akala niya naging estudyante niya ako.
Did he mention
I
you?
actually have a very funny anecdote about Harry Roque. And this is the first time I might be sharing
Well,
this.
I
no?
had Attorney Conti, who was a student of Harry Roque. and
I wasn't his
Which
student.
was, yeah.
But he thought I was. So, di ba, panahon ni President Duterte, he was already spokesperson. I was already active on Facebook.
Yun nga, wala
And
ka na sa law school.
I was
yeah.
criticizing him already.
Yeah, exactly.
Tapos na-meet ko siya sa isang restaurant, Middle Eastern restaurant sa may Green Hills, sa Promenade. This is a true story. I was there to meet someone. Na-meet na pala niya, nagka-meeting sila prior. Hindi sinabi sa akin nung ka-meeting ko na ang una
Ito yung
niyang ka-meeting was with Harry Roque. So Harry Roque was still there when I came early.
Oh.
Ako yung next meeting nung tao. Nag-meeting kami, pero before kami nag-meeting, si Harry Roque nandun, tumayo, nakita ako. Sabi niya, why are you doing this to me? Talagang tumalak. Kung paano niya tinalakan si Alvin.
Oh, so meron talaga yung backstage.
Yes!
Wait, this is new information.
Oo,
You had the near...
personal interaction talaga na yung talak-talak niya, yung putak ng putak niya, na I was on the receiving end. Sabi niya, I was nice to you or I was good.
Spokesman na ba siya by this time?
Yes. Wala akong ginawang masama sa iyo. Why are you doing this to me?
Wow.
Hindi niya sinasabi yung Facebook. Hindi niya sinasabi yung mga posts ko. Pero I already knew where he was coming from na.
Oh, so meron siyang
I
ganun
was criticizing him.
sensibility.
Sabi ko, hindi ko na lang nasabi kasi, ako naman, hindi ako natakot. I just stood there and just, was hearing him. Because
Oh, wow.
I also found it like weird na parang, bakit kasi sigaw
Parang
sa isang
tsaka
restaurant?
apektado. Yeah.
Apektado siya, tapos nasa restaurant tayo. Tatala ka dito, may mga waiter, nakikinig,
Yeah.
ibang tao. So ako, hindi ko na lang pinatulan. Pero sasabihin ko sana kung ano lang ako nun, kung ano lang din ako noon, na Harry Roque lang din ako noon, sabihin ko, Sir, I was never your student. Kasi parang pinaparating niya na, naging student
How dare
kita eh.
you, yeah.
Oo. And kahit naman maging student ako, so
So
what?
what exactly?
Ang dami ng students niya ngayon, not just at Christina Conti, who has been posting about their experiences with Harry Roque before. And kwento na nila yon. Ayoko nang sabihin yun. on
Huwag
my
natin. Baka may pizza gate.
Pero yun yung kwento ko na hindi ko naman siya naging professor. Akala niya, naging professor ko siya. Tapos tinalakan niya ako na parang wala akong utang na loob. Technically, wala naman ako talagang utang na loob, regardless.
Yeah, like if you're a student also, you paid for that class.
Because I'm a citizen, he's a public official.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
should not be onion-skinned, affected, di ba? Kunwari ako,
I didn't know that.
may mamit ako na
Ang
kritiko.
alam ko lang, Jesus, alam ko lang, Attorney Francis, is marami kang kaaway. I think you're the only one who can beat me in terms of pugnacious, you have a certain skill set.
Pero wala pa naman akong
Pero you can recalibrate.
petition for...
Oo, yun nga. Pero hindi ka contemptible nor contemptuous.
Noon na, hindi, I've been there eh.
I've been there,
done that.
But
I was held in
Yeah,
contempt.
yeah, yeah.
Oo.
And in your case, you could have been disbarred. So I'm very careful asking you about anything that could get you into trouble. No, but I didn't know this backstory na
Yes.
may apektado pala siya. Ako, my only in person, whenever I met him during the time, very polite, very civil lang. Pero on TV show, in one of the TV shows we were together, we had a couple of, pinatahimik niya ako. Kasi parang he said about the I said, I use the term fledgling democracy in Philippines. So rule of law is still not established. And tapos, excuse me, kinorek niya akong ganun.
Oh.
Tapos sabi ko, no, then, syempre may delay ng konti, satellite. Nagwala siya. Excuse me, don't be rude. Ginano niya ako parang, hello, as in, umakyat yung kilay ko, di ba?
Spokesperson na siya noon.
Spokesperson siya.
That's why he was
so,
defensive.
na-shock yung host nung program, international program to. Tapos after the program, sabi niya, thank you very much in a very British accent for being very professional. Sabi kung papatulang ko yan. Sabi ko. And I was like in San Diego, so may, ano pa ako parang jet lag pa ako. Pero sabi ko, papatulang
Nag-shake
ko.
hands kayo after.
Hindi, this is on TV siya eh. Yeah, so on satellite.
Okay. Satellite ano siya.
Yeah, but parang sabi ko, wait, parang medyo malito. So maybe this is the time na medyo siguro he was worked up a bit. Maybe
Yes.
he's feeling also the pressure. Kaya I'm wondering,
And connected to sa Humba ha. Yung kwento
Exactly,
mo,
we're still in the
connected
Humba
sa
universe.
Humba because kaya naman siya nag-flare up din is because there was a Facebook post merong vlogger na nag-condemn or nagsumbat sa kanila na bakit kayo kumakain ng humba? Inaaway nyo si Alvin. Ako nagluto niyan, ako nagpadala niyan. Bakit kayo kumakain yan? Sinumbatan sila. So yun yung pinaka-core. And even Harry Roque told this, I think in One News, or...
Yeah, our colleagues here had
yes,
the other
your colleagues
day.
here. Sila nag-interview, sabi niya, sinumbatan. Yun yung word niya.
Oh, wow.
Nanumbat ng humba. So doon siya nagalit. So connected siya
Okay.
because Harry Roque doesn't like criticism. And he will confront you directly pag merong criticism addressed to him.
Oh, wow. Then maybe Ronald Llamas will not get him as his spokesman after all. If ganyan medyo, I'm not sure how that chemistry will work. But speaking about this, I mean, let's talk about the ICC because the trial is coming. That's the next big thing.
September.
Yeah, we'll rewind a little bit to the latest trial issue with Sarah, which so far is not happening. But the other one is September 23. And again, based on our conversation with other informed people, it could be a multi-day event. The defense team, the prosecution team, etc. And as early as now, we're seeing the supporters are really organizing, flexing their muscle. And we can also see authorities are also pushing back. You know, the last time I was there, March at the detention center area, I couldn't get in because only the lawyer and the family could get. But just outside, I could see, kasi para siyang ano
There was a crowd.
It's like a warehouse in the middle of like a nice rustic, you know, kumbaga parang gated community ang dating, diba?
With a big park.
Oh, so inis na inis yung mga tao, even sa amin mga journalists, when we were talking, gumagano, may nagganon ng kortina, sleep. And like, eto yung detention, and then biglang may mga glass house, ganon. So, I could imagine people are really worked up there, including, you know, and I mean it with all due respect. Like, I know the Dutch people are very quiet and very, you know, I mean, they're nice and liberal and all, but at the same time, you know, they're reserved, they're Europeans, right? I know na maingay. So, some people are wondering if this could get out of control. I mean, at the rating. Kasi ang permit is picnics, hindi political rally. And
Yes.
the two are very different. Next thing you know, my museum gonna... Now, what I'm saying is that, how are you seeing this trial coming and the relevance of this trial? Like, did you ever think as a lawyer, there'll be a day where a Filipino president will be tried in an international criminal court? You know, which we used to debate about when we talk about warlords in certain parts of the world, right? Or Milosevic during the, you know, the Balkan Wars. I mean, how do you see it as a public interest lawyer, this upcoming trial?
Even during Oplan Tokhang, no, panahon ni President Duterte, I thought there was a chance na ma-ICC siya. Because
At
the
the
case
ratings,
itself
yeah.
was very strong already before, no? Ang question na lang before was whether a warrant of arrest will be served or could be served politically. Doon ako na-surprise na it was yung alay pa mismo, ka-unity team pa mismo ng Duterte family ang nag-implement ng warrant. That was surprising. But I was not surprised that eventually Duterte will be held accountable for his crime. So, I'm so happy na nagpa-proceed yan. But of course, syempre, I'm still happily surprised na it's proceeding or going along so fast. Diba? Sorry kay Duterte, 3 to 6 months traffic. Eh yung September niya na confirmation of charges, 6 months. O, ang bilis, diba? Sa Philippines,
6
with all due
months,
respect
sorry,
to our Supreme Court, generally, people don't feel the justice system here is fast. I'm not saying about other things, ha? We're just talking about quickness. Yung sa
Although the justice system goes beyond the judiciary, just to be fair also to
yes,
them.
prosecution,
exactly.
executive branch, of course.
DOJ, yeah.
Yes. Pero ito, 6 months later, ang dami na nangyari before, confirmation of charges, which is like, ang confirmation of charges, analogy lang naman to, so it's not exactly the same, but it's like arraignment.
Right.
Sa Pilipinas. Sa Pilipinas, makakuha ka ng arraignment, ang tagal.
Tagal.
Mula prosecution, subpoena, fiscal investigating, filing a resolution, recommending the filing of charges, issuance of a warrant, makulong ka, mahuli ka, arraignment, ang
Magka-appeal
layo
ka pa,
nun.
yeah.
Ito ang bilis 6 months lang. Mas mabilis
Well,
sa
he's
war
the
on drugs.
star alleged criminal, right? I mean, ICC wouldn't catch many people like that. I mean, they have a couple of warrants of arrest for some world leaders.
Yes.
Putin, Netanyahu, good luck getting those people to the ICC anytime soon, right? So,
And yet, you have a first Asian president na to be held accountable for that. So,
but he's not the first Asian leader because we have the Taliban.
oh yeah,
And
Southeast Asian.
potentially the Myanmar leadership also next on line.
Pero nauna tayo.
Pero nauna tayo. So it's still a distinction. But
Yes.
but it's because the war on drugs happened way before the latest crazy situation. in Myanmar.
Rohingya genocide.
No, and also, well, I think this is also about more after the coup in 2021, 2022. So, but you're right. The
But
Rohingyas...
it's about the political possibility. Yun talaga, na that the Marcoses cooperated, even if they package it in so many ways, no? Essentially, they did cooperate with the ICC. But, of course, ang packaging, they cooperated with Interpol, which is true. That can be both true. By outcome, they cooperated with the ICC, but legally, technically, they cooperated with the Interpol. And that's what's surprising because many world leaders will not get arrested because most world leaders will not cooperate,
Right.
you know, with Netanyahu, Putin, who will enforce that warrant kahit na presidente ka ng ibang bansa, di ba? And your own country
Yeah.
cooperating. So I can see the anger of the DDS. In fairness naman, I can understand where they're coming from in the sense that they feel betrayed by their own country. But that goes back to the question of whether or not our country is bound by international obligations to cooperate. And we are part of the United Nations. We're part of international law. We're part of this customs. Actually, pioneer ang Philippines sa UN Declaration of
Right.
Human Rights and other human rights instruments. So why can't we be a leader as well?
You always heard from Digong this kind of Asian values 2.0 argument that this human rights is our Western values. And like, wait, nag-Google ka ba? We had Romulo Lopez, we had so many Filipino diplomats and experts who were part and parcel of really building the human rights regime at the
Yes.
international level, at the UN level. We were part of the system. You cannot say it's a colonial construct, right? Not to mention, well, including Harry Roque, right? A lot of our legal minds were luminaries, some would even say, right? In the international human rights.
Raul Pangalangan
Exactly.
was accredited as an ICC judge.
ICC. So
or appointed. Sorry.
exactly. So we have a couple of people. The reason I'm saying this is because when I was at our embassy at The Hague, you would see all the picture of this, all the Philippine legal luminaries who ended up working in, you know, international legal instruments, right? And how the Philippines also leverage. We are the first Asian country to take China to international court over the arbitration case. We
Correct.
use the compulsory arbitration. So I just felt maybe for the Marcos administration, already facing the Yun First schism within the unit team, right? Parang they didn't have much incentive to shield the Dutertes anymore when there was more scrutiny, especially if President Marcos wants to project the Philippines as a kind of a law-abiding nation, right? I mean,
Internationally.
international. Are
Yeah.
you surprised by how Marcos Jr. has turned out as a kind of a... He started a bit reformist, interestingly, which is one reason the schism really got out of control because Digong was saying, what the heck? I thought you're going to continue my legacy on war on drugs, on China, etc. And BBM really went against the grain on so many fronts. But now he's even projecting himself as a kind of a Dan Matuit 2.0. I mean, are you surprised by how a Ferdinand Marcos... It's not very on brand, is it? But it's very good for the rehabilitation project, right?
Paradoxically, I'm surprised and not surprised again. Kasi when he was running, no, I can see from Bongbong Marcos na meron siyang intention to vindicate the
Right.
family name. Yun talaga yung purpose niya in running. That was so clear.
You mean redeem, rather,
To
right?
redeem.
Kasi parang vindicate sounds like,
Both. For some sectors, vindicate, they would... Sa kanya naman, redemption lang,
Yeah.
ganon, di ba? Pero baka nga i-deny na niya na they want to redeem their name. Because again, there's nothing to redeem. Sa point of view nila. Pero most analysts like you and me would think na there was an intention to redeem or vindicate their name. So, unsurprising. But surprising kasi nga, politically, the reason why he won is because of the solid North and solid South formula. And you would go against that. So apparently he did, but not just because of the intention to redeem yourself. No, that wasn't enough. It was because may political movements na hindi masyado napapansin ng tao. Baka, I'm not the first one to say this, pero baka ulitin ko for the sake of people na the breakup of the unit team isn't the fault of the Marcoses alone. Kasi inisip siguro ng mga DDS, bakit ba tinira si Sara Duterte on confidential funds? Bakit ba siya ini-impeach, etc.?
No, it was a response to the attack by Digong and the Dutertes on them.
Yes, and before that,
Baste, Polong, they were all attacking BBM already.
the Marcoses name. And even before that, meron pang small movements, pero na pe-preempt ni BBM, which was, we have to start from the original sin. Dalawa actually, I think, no? First is yung request ni Sara Duterte to
be
get the
defense
DND.
secretary, yeah.
Yes, the Marcoses already had hints or could see na bakit niya rini-request ang DND.
Yeah.
And if analysts, active tayo noon kasi hindi naman lahat active, no? But if people go back in time noong 2022 when that issue was very much in the news, they would know na may controversy talaga
Yeah.
in terms of requesting the DND and how Marcos, BBM, sidestep Sara and say, DepEd ka na lang kasi importante to, madami kang magagawa dito, etc., etc. By the way, may co-host noon si Attorney Bruce. I was involved in that in terms of pushing for Sara to get DND, pero parang ang daming issues niyan if you go way back. The
I
other,
think people can connect the dots why you don't want Sara Duterte as the, especially with how things are, with the bloodbath that was supposed to happen or could still happen. No, but okay, let's talk about Sara Duterte, right? Because to be fair to her, I think she wanted to still square the circle, circle the square, because Baste was attacking the president. Digong last January went all guns blazing. But you know, Sara tried to really distance herself until the first lady came out and said, "Batshot ako," kasi parang natatawa na rin si Sara. So, but I think Sara Duterte.
and batshot na daw si Sara.
And
Kay First
Baste na-
Lady.
so I think it's not like Sara Duterte did not try to hold it together. It's not like even BBM tried to hold it together. So I think let's get the genesis of this and the chronology correct, no? But having said that, Sara Duterte nevertheless became one of the few current vice presidents that could face impeachment. Like we don't have many high-level officials that could face impeachment. Are you surprised by how things have turned out? And do you think there's still surprises in store? Because we talk about the executive branch already. Like what's the calculus behind Marcos cooperating de facto with the ICC? And by the way, they have said they're open to even helping with the witness protection program. And who knows what else could come? Maybe rejoining ICC could be even a conversation down the road. But at the level of Senate, are you surprised? Tumaas ang kilay mo. Are you surprised by how things have turned out in the...
More than surprised, I'm disappointed because the Senate traditionally is known to be independent and very protective of its own powers and mandate.
Institutional autonomy.
Even with all due respect to the Supreme Court, even in history, madami ng clash ang Senate at Supreme Court. Nakakalimutan nila ng mga tao kasi hindi na
Can you
natin
remind people?
panahon eh. Senator Soto, yung tatay niya, Vicente Soto, may the original, nagkaroon na yan ng issue with the
Liable ba to?
Chief Justice or Justices
Right, yeah.
in relation with yung Soto Law, yung anonymity ng journalists, etc. Way back. That's just one of the many. No? Lalo na nung Cory time, madami dyan. Too many to recount. But ang point is, usually the Senate would find creative ways to comply with whatever decision that the Supreme Court makes.
Or not
but
look as
also,
defying it or disrespectfully.
to paradoxically, both defy and comply.
Yeah.
Parang ganun. In history, madaming ginawa yung Senate na ganun. But now, the Senate really was really more compliant. But because, I think, because you said first vice president to be impeached, no? Nag-iba din actually yung political dynamics. Kasi pag president ang ini-impeach mo, sa totoo lang, ito, just to be politically blunt madaming may interest to have that sitting president
Kasi
impeached.
aakyat yung iba eh. Yeah.
Aakyat yung iba, maiiba yung dynamics, yung pork barrel, yung corruption, kung sino pwedeng maambunan. Let's be blunt. President, pag napatanggal mo, madaming pwede magbago. Vice President naman, iba ang dynamics. Wala siyang power in reality. Pero she's a president in waiting. So yung mga senators, iba ang calculus nila as to whether or not to impeach the vice president or not. Kasi wala masyadong impetus. Wala namang big benefit eh. Di naman maambunan kagad yung mga tao, wala namang mababago. Pero kapag they side with her, if they side with a future president to be, which we assume, yun yung expectation right now, but that's not set in stone but let's take that into consideration. Let's assume that na Sara will be the president in 2020. Doon mo makikita why the Senate was more pliant and submissive to the Supreme Court because politically as well, nag-align. They don't want to touch Sara because their own political fates might be for the worse if they try to attack Sara from political
Obviously, you're
capital
talking
ng tao.
about the DDS-7 plus the other senators who try to...
DDS-7 plus, the senators kasi
the
alam,
18, the 19, yeah.
they're political animals eh. At the end of the day, they follow political winds. So ngayon, ang pinupusta nila, the way they're thinking right now, based on their decision, is that Sara is more likely to win. That's the essence of it.
Well, even more so if you know it looks like she's untouchable, basically, right? In spite of everything, I even heard certain people, not senators per se, but kind of attached to the institution, saying, "Oh, yung sinasabi ni Sara na assassinate ko kayo, ano yan? Gutter talk lang yan." Like,
Joke lang?
Joke? Well, she said no joke. She said no joke twice. Just to be clear. So to dismiss that as a gutter talk, I'm finding that really like amazing. Like we have reached a point whereby it's parang normal lang dapat na vice president will
Can
threat
say
us.
that.
Yeah, like find me. Kaya we have good senators, some of them on this show earlier this year. Who were saying, you know, focus tayo sa economy, na pag-iwanan tayo ng mga kapitbahay. Like, yeah, last time we checked, wala sa ating mga kapitbahay, even in the craziest situation in Malaysia, crazy situation in Thailand. You didn't have the vice president, the number 2, threatening to kill and assassinate the number 1, the first lady, the speaker of the house. This is like banana republic on steroids, right? So, but even more troubling, in my opinion at least, is, let's talk about Senator Cayetano, right? Hindi ko na siya blind item, kahit bina-blind item siguro ako. No, but
he's a public figure naman.
Well, exactly. I mean, but I don't know, but nagba-blind item pa siya. But going back to him, he said something like, talunin niyo na lang sa 2028, parang gano'n. Parang basically ang sinasabi niya, yung gusto mag-impeachment, hindi kayo rule of law. This is just basic toxic partisanship. What do you say about that? Last time I checked, accountability applies all the time. Our Constitution.
Iba ang purpose ng election sa purpose ng impeachment. Ang elections naman, wala ka pang alam na corruption siguro. Ang tinitingnan ng tao dyan, plataforma. Tinitingnan ng tao dyan, anong mga promises mo, how do you solve our daily problems. So, boboto ka. Ang impeachment naman presupposes, because the grounds for impeachment are betrayal of public trust, culpable violation of the Constitution, bribery, other high crimes, etc. All of those presupposes may ginawa kang masama, meaning accountability for those actions. So ang elections is really more about representation of interest. Sino yung mas gusto kong policy? Sino yung mas gusto kong plataforma? Sino yung mas pinagkakatiwalaan ko? Pwede kang na-elect, may ginawa kang masama, so kaya kailangang i-impeach. Hindi pwedeng talunin na lang yan sa 2028 kasi may 3 years pa eh. O, so paano yung accountability niya for this year? Or for last year, mag-aantay ka ng 2028, and again, iba yung purpose. So, the purpose of impeachment is to hold someone accountable for what they have done. Again, Sara Duterte is not, quote-unquote, convicted or guilty, per se. That's why you have to hold trial. You cannot preempt the outcome of the trial and say, talunin na lang siya sa 2028. Are you saying she's innocent? Hindi pa din naman niya napatunayan. Or you did not give the prosecution a chance to prove
to make your case,
that she's guilty. What if binenta niya ang bansa sa China? Something about treason, something about high crimes. Anting na lang sa 2028, paano kung manalo, tapos Chinese agent pala siya?
And it's not like our elections have been a good clearinghouse for, let's be honest about this.
No, I mean, we always try to believe in the power of the people, and that's the basis of any democracy. But democracies can be co-opted by billionaires, by the rich, by foreign interests or
and demagogues.
Agents. And demagogues or populists or autocrats. So, we try, I mean you, and I commend you for that. Ako naman, ang daming risk, but we try to prevent those people from bastardizing our democracy. So, hindi pwedeng sa elections ka lang lagi maniniwala. Kaya nga natin binoto yung mga senador, part of their job is to hold someone accountable for high crimes. Hindi nila ginawa yung trabaho nila.
Speaking about the issue of Sara Duterte, one of the things you keep on hearing, although sometimes lumalabas yan sa mga pro-Duterte circles quite openly, but off the record, when you talk to even non-Duterte people, they say, lahat naman corrupt bakit tayo mag-focus dito? What do you say about that? Na this is just, the kettle and the, you know what I'm saying? What do you say about that? That kind of cynical read of this. Ako kasi my thing is, assuming that's true, when you walk in the room and everyone's corrupt or problematic, you always start with the most brazen, right? I mean, that's logically, you have to start somewhere, right?
Factually, hindi totoo. Hindi lahat corrupt. Kasi kung lahat corrupt, edi dapat lahat napakulong na natin for Napoles, yung list ni Napoles and pork barrel. Or second, dapat lahat ng mga inaccuse ni Magalong ngayon, sabi lang niya, mga 67 congressman, di ba? And of course, we know people na factually are not corrupt. I mean, baka sabihin nila bias, di ba? But wala namang corruption allegations against Mayor Leni Robredo as former Vice President, Senator Risa Ontiveros,
not President
Congressman Chel Jokno. I mean, let's just talk about the people right now kasi sabihin nila.
Or Vico Soto, right? I mean,
Vico Soto, who's a champion, people love. Even DDS love Mayor Vico. And we all love when people don't steal people's money kasi may magandang nagagawa. Like Mayor Vico is improving Pasig City, Mayor Joy Belmonte is improving Quezon City. So meron tangible gains. Even DDS love that and will support that. So hindi tayo pwede maging cynical na lahat naman yan corrupt. Meron tayong pwedeng makuha dyan na hindi corrupt. If we settle na lahat yan corrupt, wala talaga tayong good option na dadating. Kasi yung mga good option, isipin nila, wag na lang akong tatakbo. Lahat naman yan corrupt. Tsaka pipiliin din naman
so it's a dangerous delusion in your
opinion. Kung namin mabait ka na tao, isipin mo, lahat naman ng pipiliin ng mga tao, ang iboboto nila yung corrupt pa din kasi lahat naman yan corrupt. What if Mayor Vico didn't attempt to run? Di wala tayong Vico Soto as an example. Joy Belmonte, Risa
Chel
Ontiveros,
Jokno,
Chel
yeah.
Jokno, Laila De Lima, etc. Of course, sabihin nila, corrupt yan. Pero fake news naman yung mga na-throw, let's say kay Congressman Laila De Lima. No? But going back, so hindi lahat corrupt. Okay, punta na tayo. Lahat corrupt. Even if, let's assume,
Even
di ba?
if, right, yeah.
Meron kasi yung mastermind, di ba? May big fish, may small fish. Mayroong gumawa ng sistema, mayroong sumusunod lang sa sistema. Pag tinira mo yung gumawa ng sistema, nabasag mo yung sistema, you break the system of corruption, di ba ka hindi na maging corrupt lahat ng mga nasa baba? So that's why you go for the ones on the top. Because sila ang gumawa ng system. I-relate natin kay VP Sara Duterte, no? Sabihin niya, hindi naman ako ang may confidential funds lang. But you created the system. Anong system? Fake names. Fake receipts. Diba? That's very new to me. Sabihin ba niya may ibang gumawa noon?
Well, we had Justice Scorpios from Davao on this show, and he said, actually, confidential fund is a creation of the Duterte dynasty from Davao days. The father's time, and you want to talk about flood control projects?
Historically, yeah.
12,000, according to some reports, 12,000 flood control projects. So we're not talking about Sara in isolation. She was a mayor of Davao. The Duterte dynasty has been in power forever. Her father was in power. So I don't think ito yung usapan ng million versus billions. I mean, we can talk about all the corruption scandals during the Digong
She's
time.
like a mastermind. She designed many things, no? The first design dyan, you mentioned the Duterte administration, balikan ko yung Office of the President. It was President Duterte who originated a very bloated budget sa Office of the President. And a lot of that, may mga nagsabi na nitong researchers, na yung ibang pera sa Office of the President na budget went to trolls. Went to bloggers and influencers. Kaya ang daming propaganda noon, di ba? I think it was Duterte's administration na naging billions yung Office of the President in terms
times
of...
10, 20. Because Pinoy had that, but it was very limited and only for the president, because the president could be assassinated, so you have to have your own
hindi pa yung
intelligence.
confidential funds. We're not even talking about confidential
Intelligence
funds.
fund lang yata siya.
Intelligence funds and among other things, parang operating expenses. Some other things ng Office of the President. I forget the line item. But second, i-relate ko dito yung sa assassination attempt, no? Baka akala kasi ng mga tao, normal lang si VP Sara. She's just like any other politician. Merong witnesses sa ICC case nung mayor ng Davao, si Sara Duterte, Las Cañas among others, but specifically Las Cañas, who said actually mas malala pa daw si Sara Duterte. Hindi ako nagsasabi nito, mas malala pa daw si Sara Duterte kaysa kay Rodrigo in terms of Oplan Tokhang. Why? Kasi ang nag-upgrade daw ng Oplan Tokhang ay si Sara Duterte. Paano in-upgrade? Si President Rodrigo parang gusto lang niya, i-missing mo yan or wag mo yan, siguradong wala yan sa Davao na hindi ko makikita. It was Sara Duterte who said, hindi, ano mo yan, i-bury mo yan sa quarry, yung sa Loud Quarry. If I recall my facts correctly,
suspected lahat ng mga EJK
you can confirm
victims.
this with Attorney Cristina Conti. Basta, there was a testimony ni Las Cañas na it was Sara Duterte who leveled up the Oplan Tokhang. I'm just forgetting the specific anecdote. So, ang point dyan, if she had the original criminal design, creating the structure or the system, she's not just an ordinary person to hold accountable. Dapat siya talaga isa sa mga i-hold accountable kasi ang dami niyang binago, ang dami niyang ginawang bago na susundin niya ng iba, if ever.
And the ombudsman could also be a factor, right, in the coming months? Because
hopefully,
we're days away from a new ombudsman coming in. So that could be also another route to look at the possible
it will depend on the president, di ba? The president has to be decisive na yung iapon niyang ombudsman is known to be impartial, brave, courageous, di ba, na who will hold this...
And has the resources to do the investigative report. I mean, this is going to be...
technically, the ombudsman should have the resources. May financial autonomy naman ng ombudsman. It's always a matter of political will for the ombudsman.
And I left this for the last part. Let's talk about the Supreme Court. There's still a lot of skepticism on whether the Supreme Court will modify this decision, considering this was en banc. But, some people are still hoping that at least, operative fact or at least prospective overruling, whatever supposed new
way out
due process. No, I mean new due process that
doctrine.
was introduced. I will apply to future cases, not these cases. Should the Congress refile the impeachment case against Sara Duterte, unless where do you see this going in terms of the Supreme Court and the judiciary's position in the Philippine political imagination? Because let's be honest, much of the focus is always on Senate, on the executive, on congressmen, But the judiciary also has a very important role as one of the pillars of our constitutional democracy.
And the last bulwark, allegedly, of democracy, no? They're supposed to defend the constitutional republic. I can't really say where things will go in the short term, whether the Supreme Court will hold oral arguments and is likely to reverse itself. I just know for sure...
Can they take their time on this, MRs?
They can also sit on it, right? I just know for sure that, contrary to others, I don't think it's so easy to refile on February 6. Because even if you refile on February 6, the same obstacles and impediments imposed on you by the Supreme Court now, if it doesn't reverse itself, or the same DDS lawyers who will try to oppose the next impeachment complaint still exist. Especially if the Supreme Court doesn't reverse itself. If the Supreme Court reverses itself, you lower the potential of DDS lawyers to try to block a future impeachment. But I think...
And the Senate, you suppose, should unarchive it if the Supreme Court makes any major modification?
Well, they just had a debate sa Commission on Appointments and they keep saying respect the decision of the Supreme Court. So, if that was the reason for archiving, then they should unarchive it, because if the Supreme Court decides na the impeachment trial should continue, regardless of if valid or not yung due process, operative fact na lang yung gagawin, then they should follow the Supreme Court. But going back to your question sa Supreme Court, no, ang masasabi ko lang dyan, the Supreme Court, with all due respect, like ako, lawyer ako ngayon, let's just say, but I won't be. I know I won't be. If I appointed ako justice in the future, ang dami kong baggage na imperfections and flaws as a human being, no? Coming as justice sa Supreme Court. So, lahat yung justices ng Supreme Court, hindi lang natin alam, hindi lang yan na-publicize, madami din yung faults and imperfections. And I'm not the one saying that. That's Chief Justice Gesmundo, who said we are mere mortals, we are not gods of Padre Fauva. It was also Justice Leonen, who said, if you only knew who we are, then you would not treat us as gods of Padre Fauva. So, silang dalawa yon. But, ang point ko here is, they will always be judged by history. Right or wrong ang decision nila, we will follow it. But if it's wrong, their reputations will definitely take a hit. Ang example ko dyan, baka sabihin, no, hindi naman, justices pa din yan. They will get a retirement package, okay naman sila after they retire. That's not true. Who are the justices we respect who have retired before? Ang layo na. I don't know if you've seen, no, or if you've noted, wala tayong masyadong Arroyo Court or Duterte Court appointees. I'm not talking about the current Supreme Court. I'm talking about yung mga nag-retire na nung panahon ni Duterte. Sina Justice, you might not recall them already, Teresita de Castro. Even
who had that co-warranto back and forth with the former
Bersamin,
Chief
ES ni BBM, was a part of the Duterte Court. Si
Duterte appointed.
Duterte appointed. Bersamin, Velasco, Peralta, Brion, Teresita de Castro, yung mga nagsereno co-warranto. Where are they now? They are not, with all due respect to them, after their retirement, they're not sought out by the legal academe, by the media, by public experts and thought analysts. They're not sought out. Sino ang sinisik out? Justice Carpio,
Ascuna.
Justice Puno, Justice Ascuna, Justice Panganiban, way before. After Panganiban and Puno,
Davide,
medyo nawala. Yes, kasama pa siya nun. Pero yon, after them, medyo nawala na yung public intellectual na justice, except Justice Carpio and Justice Conchita.
So you think that moral authority is very
The
important?
moral authority, the way they wrote their decisions, si Carpio, si Conchita Carpio Morales, they're well respected. Yung ganda ng pagsulat nila, remember, ang Supreme Court kasi, they're not really supposed to be seen. They're not political. That's true. They're
Above
supposed to be read. Yung decisions nila, you judge them based on their decisions. And the credibility of a justice lies on the credibility and persuasiveness of the decision, of the reasoning. So anong point ko? Lahat ng mga justices after Carpio and Carpio Morales, nasan sila ngayon? These are the same, I think this is the same fate, if ever, of the justices who voted against the impeachment because their reasoning is not really convincing to the people.
Very last point. We started with talking about the role of public intellectual, a public interest lawyer, the status quo legal order versus what could be a better world, or normative, discussions around what could be a better world. To a certain degree, we could say in 2025 also had some green shoots of potential political transformation, right? For the first time, you have Gen Z and millennials collectively, including us older millennials, constituting the majority of voters. And the 2025 elections was a massive surprise on so many fronts, including the fact that many big celebrities, including global celebrities like Manny Pacquiao, were not even close. And at the same time, you have Kiko barely spending anything, very limited resources, and in the case of Bam, almost number one, at least number two, with 20 million votes. Do you think, and I want to end on this point because I think this is very important, do you think there could be some sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, pink movement, youth movement? Is there kind of a potential for a transformative movement creation in the Philippines heading into 2028 beyond? Because all our conversation has been about personalities and political dynasties and schisms and factions. What we don't talk about are movements. And we know movements are really what transform societies and make democracies more mature and stable.
In any country, there is always an opportunity to tap into a movement. And movements have always existed. But in terms of the political movement from 2022 to 2025, it's really just waiting to be tapped further, consolidated by the magic, not just of a personality, but in any movement, we cannot fault naman na magkakaroon ng personality who will coalesce and consolidate that magic. But the challenge there is in terms of institutionalizing the magic. So, who's that personality? That's the first question. And second, is the personality a reformist mindset that will institutionalize that movement in terms of the system? Kasi, anong examples ang pinag-usapan natin? Political dynasty, banning it. It should be institutionalized. Election reforms in terms of campaign finance, how we are able to vote for people, how we are able to disseminate fake news and the right information, those need to be institutionalized. So, the movement is there, I think. The movement is there already, but it needs to be further consolidated because it can always fracture. Like the DDS movement, it is already fracturing. Tayo naman, we are just on the verge of coalescing or convergence.
And there are lessons to learn from the DDS?
And there are lessons always to be learned. But hope always springs eternal. If you don't capture it now, you can always try to capture it in the future. But better to capture it now and build on it for 2028 and beyond. Kasi you can actually build like more than 2 decades of a movement and sustain it if you just do it properly. Of course, I can't say how. Like, we're not gods naman to say, eto lahat ng dapat gawin, no? We're just one atom in that movement to try to influence na the leaders of, quote-unquote, the opposition and of the movement right now should try to plan and consolidate our forces already.
On that, I won't say hopeful only, but I would say on that cautiously optimistic note, thank you so much, Attorney Falsis,
thank you for having me,
for that comprehensive discussion. Catch us again next week here on One News. You can also check out the long conversation on Spotify and YouTube. I'm Richard Hidarian, and that was The View from Manila. We're One News, all sides, all the time.